Monkey Tail.
Fine, let's start then. Hello and welcome to another edition of the that go there was like a little stab in my kidneys as I was about to run away, like that punch you gave me when you were running up the stairs in the underground. Remember? Yeah, just winded
that
me
was
and
really fun.
yeah, right. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Monkey Tail podcast. I am your host, Bruno Pinto, and with me as ever, I have my friend slash co-host, Mr. Marius Dunkley.
Hello, shame I can't punch you from here.
And also my other friend and co-host, Mr. Benn Jenkins, with some crazy hair you're sporting today. What's happening there, man? Tell you what,
Morning, guys.
Don't touch any plugs.
Is,
Don't touch any light plugs. That's what happens when when you do so.
This is what happens when you go to bed with wet hair and then get up and start recording a podcast.
This is true. I never go to bed with the wet hair. It's just it's one of my rules in life, you know.
I never go to bed with hair. It's much easier, guys.
I was going to say, when was the last time you went to bed with hair, man?
We got a podcast title already. Early early hours. I never go to bed with hair. Done. Signed and delivered. Fantastic. Right. Okay. We'll start the podcast as always, guys, with a question. We had a few questions that came in today, which is great. But we'll start with one from Mr. One Heather. Tom is asked, "What is your most favorite female protagonist in a video game?" So we'll start with Marius. Marius, what's your favorite female protagonist in a video game?
Well, it's Alex Vance from Half-Life, isn't it?
You bastard! I know I should have gone first. On precast, I mentioned that, and I think it's been stolen from me.
there's no question. She's clearly the best female protagonist. She actually has a brain. She's not really sexualized in any way. I guess you could argue there's a bit of that there, but basically that's not dwelled on at any point. She's just a genuinely good, solid character. She's better than anything else in any video game ever when it comes to female protagonists. I don't think anyone can argue otherwise, to be honest with you, but you're welcome to try.
Okay, I am gonna go second, just in case Ben decides to steal something from you as well. Marius's answer is
chance of that happening.
Marius's answer is indeed correct, but I am gonna go with because I want to go with somebody else. Then I'm gonna go with Jade from Beyond Good and Evil. Equally, not a sexualized character at all. Just she's a photographer, great female protagonist. She can kick ass, and the fact that she's a woman doesn't play into she's not weak because she's a woman, or she's not nothing like that. It's actually a well-rounded character, as it should be, as well. That's my answer.
I'm interested to see what Ben thinks, because he's got a lot of ideas about female protagonists in video games.
Wow.
I mean, he will have now. He's done a load of Googling to try and find some.
So yeah, it turns out I've actually played a few more games than I thought. So taking from this list, Senua from Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. She's a good female protagonist.
Yeah, she is good, but this is only for after a Google. That's what I'm saying. Get away.
It doesn't matter. It's his answer.
Yeah, but again, precast, I said I can't think of anyone. But no, in terms of game and how that character developed, she's actually really, really good now that I think about it. So that's my answer. So
no, that is a great answer, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that one without a Google myself, to be fair. But yeah, good one.
Can I just go through a couple of this list?
Of course.
Whilst we're here, so we've got Clementine from The Walking Dead. She's actually quite. Good character.
She's really good.
Great character. Yeah.
Eve from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Then we've got Jill from Resident Evil 3. Half-Life Alex, number 17 on this list.
Wrong.
Faith from Mirror's Edge.
Okay, but
yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And then who else have we got? We've got Claire, Resident Evil 2. The female protagonist you can use in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Obviously you can choose male or female.
She's actually quite good. She is a bit sexualized though, but she is a great character, to be fair. So yeah, that one. Yeah.
Of course, we've got Ellie from Last of Us 2.
Of course.
Tomb Raider. Lara Croft comes number 9 on this list.
Oh, it's crazy. That's nonsense. That list is nonsense.
Let's not go
Celeste is
through
great.
all of them. What's their number one?
Yeah, Celeste is great.
They're number one after number two, which is Senua, but they've got what's her name from Horizon?
Aloy.
He's number one on that list.
Who's this list?
This is thegamer.com.
Never.
But if you just search female protagonist, click the first result, you're onto a winner.
I mean, the other one I would have gone with, would have been Samus as well. I really like Samus from Metroid Prime. I think she's actually again, that one. In fact, that one you don't find out she's a female until the very end of the first game, which was like just blew people's minds and preconceptions, because the fact that she was, like I said, it's the fact that she can be a female character and do everything that the male characters can do as well, which is
number 7 on this list is Metroid.
Yeah, of course.
Where's Trip from Enslaved?
Yeah, Trip.
Not on this list. So therefore,
they're wrong. I disregard that website.
Completely.
Never speak their name again.
The fact that they had Alex in 17th, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Jade not there? I don't think you mentioned Jade from Beyond Good and Evil. The one I said wasn't there, and you haven't got Trip from Enslaved, which is it's a tragedy. Tragedy. We went with the two T's. Yeah, I like
all
it.
the T's.
All the T's. Yeah. Let's go. Let's keep going. Let me get my ducks in the row, Mr. Martin. Martin. What's wrong with me, man?
You always confused me.
I don't know. You both M's. What can I tell you? I have to do it at least once a game, once a podcast. Right. Let's move over to the next section of the podcast. Section we like to call That Looks Interesting, and this is the part of the show where we talk about the video game news over the last couple weeks. I like the smile from Marius there because he thought I was going to go to the playlist. I know he did, but it wasn't.
No, I was laughing at you stalling whilst you remembered the name of the section. That's what I was laughing at.
More importantly, as I was reading it from my list, I
know exactly what you were doing.
Right. Let's start with I guess one of the biggest news last couple of weeks, dominated the world news really, is the GameStop news with the share price going up.
I would argue this is business news, not game news. It just happens to involve a company that's to do with games.
I now tend to agree with you. The reason I want to just touch on it quickly is because our very own Benn here bought some shares on GameStop. But to clarify this, he bought it like a year ago. So before all of this happened, he bought it when before this was even a plan in anyone's eyes. So he got it. He went in at the ground floor, right? Level.
$4 a share. I got in.
Yeah. Let's get to the point. Have you cashed them out?
No, I didn't. And it's been a steep learning curve for the last week or two. I'll admit I got caught up in the hype, but obviously I didn't want to just go with the majority and do what everyone else was telling me to do. So I sort of sat and waited it out a bit, and it's going to fold out to be quite an interesting long story from obviously a stocks and shares perspective. But also, I mean, I still believe that GameStop will turn itself around. They have got some new board members that will. It's a long game, guys. Don't be shaking your head.
They need a new entire business strategy that's called going digital and closing all your shops.
I think that's what's going to happen now.
They're staying on GameStop. Their partnership with Microsoft last year was a great thing they did, and the fact that if they sell, because you can buy the new Xbox Series on paying monthly with I forgot what the bloody program is called. We talked about it in the podcast before. I thought it was a great idea, but they can sell that in their stores, and then any digital games sold on that console, they'll get a percentage of it. So that deal they did with Microsoft will definitely help in some way. I don't know if they'll ever get to that level of the $300, whatever it was, a share that were. But just on the news segment anyway, for those that don't know, I'm not gonna go into deep on this, but essentially, a lot of big companies, not companies, the
Hedge funds.
Hedge funds. That's the one. Decided to short GameStop, which pretty much is what hedge funds do to when they're trying to just kill a company and just make some money on them. Just short all the shares on dying companies, and a group of redditors got together and decided to buy lots of shares just to indeed making those hedge funds lose like billions on that, which is great. And yeah, it's nice to see sometimes the like the David versus Goliath thing of David obviously messing up Goliath, but in the week or two since that's happened, they've recovered most of the money already again. So
it's not David versus Goliath.
No.
This is just a few
but
people using this to make themselves a shit ton of money, and they're trying to sell the idea that it's them versus the big people.
Yeah.
It's bollocks. It's just some people are out to make some money for themselves.
I would like
That's
to
it.
point out that it's kind of there's been a lot of misinformation, and it's highlighted the fact that you can't believe anything in the news. And I know that that fake news and whatnot has been spiraling out of control for the last couple of years anyway. But it really has shown me that you need to do due diligence in anything you do. You can't just rely on one set of news story or one people's set of opinions. Obviously, there is always two sides, and it is still going on. Even though whatever the media is reporting now, there is still this battle going on, and it is going to be a longer, drawn-out process. But obviously, some people did get in, made a quick buck, and then fucked off, which is fair. But yeah, just read more news stories than what you're used to when it comes to finding out the right information. But other than that, yeah, it's
before we
it's a weird one.
Before we move, so you could have sold, I'm assuming, at 300 at some point, right?
420, funnily enough.
Yeah, all right, okay, and you didn't, which is fine because you're your own person and you do your own things, and you haven't yet. So, what's the deal now? Are you gonna just keep them and see how it goes, or are you gonna?
Yeah, no, I'd say I bought the shares a while ago. I believe in the company. It's going to be a long slog to get back. It's the equivalent of Blockbuster coming back nowadays. And I appreciate what you guys are saying, that they are a brick and mortar store, that they've got some very archaic board members in, but there might be some change. And at the end of the day, I took a punt on it a while ago. I got caught up in the hype for this last week or two, but ultimately I've enjoyed spending time on the internet, which is something I've not done. Being a part of a global, worldwide story. And I've actually ended up hanging out with one of my mates from school, just through, conversations. So for me, I've spent a lot more and a lot less. And I've had a whale of a time the last 2 weeks, sort of keeping an eye on the stock market and the news, and learning more about, the stock market and how fucking corrupt it is. And, the little guys will never win because it's geared up for.
Yes, that's right.
But, obviously, the big people to win.
It is a good story, but I agree with Marius that it's more of a business story rather than a game story. On that note, my story of the week is that Epic are potentially going to go public. They're currently a private company, and they're looking to go public. Again, that's also maybe a business decision, but I think that affects more. That affects more what I mean. They've just hired an investor relations specialist. Now, reading into that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna go public. It could just mean they hire somebody to deal with their own internal investors, because companies, even private companies, have their own obviously shareholders internally. But more often than not, it shows that they're preparing to go public. So that's all I'm going to say on it. And Ben, yes, just keep an eye on it. If you get yourself some.
I will probably
because that sounds to me like a company that is the opposite of GameStop. It's a company going places, with their digital game sales and all of that. Even though they're picking battles with some people they cannot win against, like Apple. They think they can take on Apple, which it's laughable.
But if you believe that, then you'll never win. So.
I know, but
you've got to fight. You've got to try.
I know, but their thing with Apple is like me saying to you, Ben, I should be allowed to go inside your house and make my room there. It's a room for me. I don't care. I'm not gonna pay any rent. I'm gonna pay.
Don't care what you say.
I'm gonna put my room there because it's only fair that I can. You got room? You got a room in your house? Yeah, yeah. I can put a room in your house as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put it there. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'll pay for the room to make the room, but I don't pay any rent. It's my room now. Okay, no problem. Stupid. Never gonna win. It's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, buy some shares on them. They are going places in terms of certainly they're selling digitally, of course. And Marius thinks is interesting that Google Stadia is shutting down internal studios. So who saw that coming?
Yeah, not a massive surprise. Google had a couple of internal development studios that were making games for Stadia. And what are we in, a year down the road into Stadia, something like that? 18 months, is it? Stadia's been
18 months,
going.
Yeah.
And Google are already going, yeah, we're not going to make games for it anymore. They've insisted that they are still supporting Stadia. they're still keeping to that story. Let's review again in another 18 months and see how long it was after this point that they cancelled Stadia as a service. I'm sure it's coming. I mean, first of all, obviously it's a bummer. That's 150 jobs.
Yeah.
Have gone, although they said they will try and redistribute some of those people within the company. Like I said, he insisted that they're going to continue supporting Stadia. Don't believe him. And he also went on about saying how the technology of Stadia has been proven. Well, it hasn't, has it? Because they still haven't delivered all the things that they promised that they would deliver when they announced it. So, I just think it's this is another nail in the coffin of Stadia, unfortunately.
No, I agree. I think there's a future. The future is I wrote a feature years ago called "The Future is Digital." What I was talking more about the distribution of games rather than playing the games online. But I do think the future is digital, as in it will be with this 100%.
Yeah, and if Stadia had delivered what they'd promised and they didn't have such a silly business model for it, it would have been amazing. But
shall I tell you who's going to get there first? It's Microsoft. And I tell you why I think is that it's because of Game Pass. They, we talked about it last podcast. They had their issues with the Xbox Go. Then we laughed about it. But
yeah, they're already halfway there, aren't they? Yeah. It's just that it's not streaming; it's downloadable at the moment.
And they have the servers. They have the servers. They have the infrastructure. They at one point they just have to go like turn the switch. You can also.
Well, you can stream now anyway, can't you? They're already doing it.
Yeah. So and they'll give you they'll sell you a little dongle you put on your TV. Off you go, mate. And then new TVs are gonna start coming up with the Xbox app, and they're slowly they're just moving all their pieces to where when we gonna like who's gonna do it? Oh wait, they're doing it already. They've done it. So that's what's gonna happen. Final bit of news. I know it's a news-packed podcast, and I know that you guys are looking at the notes like, where? There's no news here. Bruno is doing it out of his head. Yes, I am. That's how. That's my. This is one is for Marius. Marius, there's a new VR headset coming out.
Oh, is this the Apple one?
This is the Apple one.
I almost put it on there myself. Yeah.
It's only $3,000. Okay. Yeah. However, listen, don't laugh. Okay, don't laugh. 8K in each eye. 8K in each eye. That's good.
That's a lot of Ks.
12 cameras. 12 cameras on the outside of this. So inside out tracking. 12 cameras. 12 high definition cameras to track with their IR sensors, and a new bionic chip they have, which is faster than the one they have on the M1 they have on their Mac. On the Mac Air, Mac Pro laptops that they've released recently. So now it's obviously clearly too expensive, right? But boy, I will try it.
Just for me, well, yeah, absolutely. This is like it's not really for sale, is it? It's just it's them testing their tech. And,
yes, yeah. But what it tells me is this is where we're going, because Apple will do that, then the Korean and the Chinese companies, Japanese companies will start doing their own as well based on the similar tech, and this is where it's going, and it's great because I like to see that VR is not dead, and it's certainly still coming in. Right. That's been the video game news. Let's move over now to the playlist. Okay, and this is the part of the show where we talk about the games we've been playing the last couple of weeks. And if it's okay with you guys, I'll start. I'll start with the one I played the least amount of time. I think I've only played a couple hours on this. And that's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And I want to ask a question. I think Martin has wrong with me. Marius has just finished it, but I don't think Ben has played it, right?
I played a bit of it. Yeah, it's too fucking scary in VR, and I want to play it in the VR thing, and I haven't sat
right
VR.
I played for an hour or two on stream, and I have a thing on my when I stream where people can play sound alerts. That's just So the combination of the jump scares on the game and people just playing sound alerts at random parts meant that I shouted a few times, and my heart was going like that the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I both really like what they're doing and really dislike this game. Okay, I don't like the first person perspective. I'm happy to be proved wrong on that one. But what I really don't like is that the enemies are invincible. Not Resident Evil for me. If I cannot kill the enemy and he keeps coming back, it's not Resident Evil. It's Alien Isolation. It's Outlast. It's I know Nemesis keeps coming back to you on
yeah, and you can kill them in the same way that you can kill zombies in Resident Evil, but then when you walk past them again, they come back alive.
Fine, but in Resident Evil, there's parts where I can, if I kill all of them in the room, I can then go and explore the room because they're not dead. And this one here, I have to escape the room because that guy will keep coming up again. So I cannot finish him. I don't like invincible enemies. But anyway, that's the things I don't like. Everything else I love. I think the game looks great. I think the story so far is great as well. The hour or two I played, and it is Resident Evil in terms of you grabbing this, like I'm, going get the wolf plaques to put on the door to open the door, or and then that's all there. I just don't really like the first person perspective. And I tell you what I don't like about the first person perspective on it is the fact that they want you to shoot with it, right? They give you a gun and they want you to shoot with the first person perspective, but it's not as smooth as a shooter. It's it's the shooting is as bad as the worst shooter you can play on a PC. It's very slow and it's not. So if you want to make me play a first person shooter first person perspective Resident Evil and you give me a gun, let me shoot then. Don't then make me...
No, that you're wrong. That's the whole point, isn't it? If it then it just becomes an action game. It's just a fucking shooting game. Then that's the whole point. If you can shoot easily in Resident Evil, then it's no longer Resident Evil. It's just an action shooty fucking Call of Duty game. And then it becomes even less Resident Evil. It absolutely has to be like that in order for them to build tension in that first person. If you can just fucking blow everything's head off within a second, in a first person shooter, it's not Resident Evil, and it's not that it takes away all of that sort of horror suspense.
That's not what I mean. I think you should absolutely I'm not saying you need to kill enemies with one shot, but what I'm saying is you shouldn't take that long to aim the weapon at the head.
No, and I'm saying it absolutely should, because that's the whole point. It gives you that tension. It's like if it's moving slow, and the creature's coming at you, it's like, oh shit, you can't do anything about it. You're sort of frozen a bit, and that ratchets up the tension. It's absolutely perfect for what they're trying to do with the game.
Okay, fine. But Resident Evil 2, for me, the shooting is much more satisfying. You have the third person perspective, but I can move faster and shoot faster with it. I feel maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Potentially a limitation of the fact that you're playing it on PC and it was made more for the VR side of things to give that immersion of scariness.
I was wondering that. I mean, gonna download it and have a go. I think on PC, play it on the flat screen and see how it feels. But yeah, I think that does probably work better in VR. Well, the whole game clearly works better in VR.
Which
It's amazing.
leads me to my next point. I played a bit of it so far, 2 hours, I reckon. I am gonna play more of it. I'm gonna hopefully finish it on stream. I think it's very scary, actually, and I cannot believe how he played it in VR. But just I want it to be more Resident Evil in a few like there's no zombies yet, and I know you're gonna tell me there's no zombies in Resident Evil 4, and I'll say okay, I know that isn't, but that is really, I know they're not zombies. Yeah, they're not zombies, but they are zombies. Okay, they call something else, but they are. I've also bought Resident Evil 3, and that one I'm gonna be making a YouTube series on, so I'm gonna be playing that not on stream and just releasing the thing on YouTube. See how that goes. Even though I started that just to see how it looked, and it starts with Nemesis straight away after you. I don't remember starting like that. The other one, I don't remember starting with the Nemesis just destroying your apartment block and just going after you straight away. I'm like, this they made some changes here, which is interesting. So yes, that's Resident Evil 7. That's what I've been playing. Right, let's move over to Marius. You've been playing the Medium, right?
I have.
What do you think of it so far? How long have you played, and what do you think of it?
I think 2 or 3 hours, something like that. And I'm very much enjoying it so far. It again calls back to Resident Evil. It's a fixed camera perspective game, so it does feel very Silent Hill, Resident Evil-ish. Not really any shooting or combat in there so far. Whether that becomes a thing later, I don't know yet. But yeah, it felt very sort of comfortable and nostalgic, despite being a brand new game, because of the perspective and style there. I think I like the setting and the story. It's quite interesting. I think they've got a mechanic whereby the screen splits at certain points, so you see two different worlds at once, which is sort of interesting, but I think a little bit of a gimmick, to be honest. But I am really enjoying it. I think some of the dialogue is a bit terrible. Um, the character sort of tells you at some points how they're feeling about things and about the puzzles, and it's just like it was unnecessary. And it's like, just let me decide how I feel about what's going on in the scene. It was, yeah, some of those bits I felt were not good dialogue and really wasn't required. But all in all, I am loving it, and I suspect I will play through to completion unless things go pear shaped at any point.
I've also been playing the Medium. First things first on it. I think this is the first Xbox exclusive, sorry, Microsoft exclusive, rather, that's came out, which is new generation only. So it's only for Xbox Series and for PC. It doesn't work on the old ones. And boy, does it struggle to run on my PC. And that's because I turned the RTX on, because it does have RTX lighting and reflections, and because it's not a shooter, because it's not it's more about story and about puzzles. I'm playing it. Sometimes it goes to 30 frames. I don't care, because it doesn't matter. Because it's fine. Doesn't affect the gameplay. Boy, does it look pretty though. The fact that with the dual perspective, like you were saying, sometimes it splits it horizontally, sometimes it splits it vertically, sometimes it goes more to one side or the other, depending on what's required. A bit like when we played that escape from a prison game, which was all like that. If you remember, that was great.
Yeah.
A Long Way Out. The Long Way Out. Something like
No Way Out.
No, that's the one. No Way Out. So I think the dual perspective is great, and it is a gimmick, like you say, but it's great. And the fact that you're rendering two different game worlds at the same time, and the fact, and it's not just like always the same perspective. You might have one camera showing the face of the character, and then the other camera on the spirit world, for instance, just with a wide shot showing the same scene, and everything's happening at the same time. I think that's pretty neat, actually. I think that's pretty cool. I like the throwback of having the fixed cameras a la Resident Evil, Silent Hill, like you said. I'm not sure the tank controls. I mean, it's not quite a tank control, but I think they could have done I think the remake of Resi 1, they made the movement a bit better. I forgot what they did exactly, but I remember that working better for the fixed controls, fixed camera. I mean, but yes, the game looks great. I mean, really great, especially with the RTX on and all of that good stuff. I think the voice acting is top. I mean, yes, some of the dialogue is a bit can be a bit not necessary, but the acting itself is great, and
agreed.
the sound design and the score is great. It's I just came out of playing Dead Space, which is top notch sound design, and this is maybe not like that, but it's not far off how good that game is in terms of sound design. I think the sound design is great. The puzzles are a bit too simple. I think personally, and I'm about 4 hours in, and they haven't gotten any harder. So, but I don't know. So far, it's I'm almost solving them all like pow pow pow, like done. I'm not having to stop and think on most of them. I'm also not a fan of having to stop for like 10 minutes and get the book out to try and solve a puzzle. So it's like I don't know how much harder I want them to be, but maybe just a tiny bit harder will be good. But then they're trying to convey a story. It's not about you solving the puzzles just to carry on. But yeah, so far I'm really liking it, and I will be finishing it. I'm actually launching a YouTube series on this one as well. So I'll be releasing that on YouTube. Yeah, it looks great. It does. Right, Ben, you have been playing Sexy Brutale. Tell us about it.
I have. Am I still there? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I played the Sexy Brutale because it was on sale over Christmas, and I think I messaged you, Bruno, because I was like, this sounds like familiar territory.
I reviewed it.
Sexy Brutale is
back in the day.
Back in the day, yeah. So Sexy Brutale is an isometric point and clicky kind of Groundhog Day simulator. It's the Sexy Brutale is a casino, and the idea is that you control a guy that can't be in the same room as other guests of the casino at the same time, and basically they've been set up to die at a certain point in the day, and you basically relive the day over and over again, and you've got to try and solve their murder mysteries. And I really enjoyed it. It was very simple, sort of one room at a time. You can't be in the same room as the people having died, so you've got to basically look through keyholes and try and piece together where everyone is throughout the the evening or the day's events. And I played it through to platinum in the end. I really enjoyed it. There's what 8 or 9 people to save. Obviously, when you first start off the game, you don't know where anyone is or what's going on. There's the members of staff at the casino. They're sort of wandering around doing their things. You've got to sort of follow them by looking through keyholes or following them room to room to try and work out where they are at certain times of the day. And then you may have to use a sort of a time shift mechanic to reset the time of the day. So you know that person A is in this room at 7 p.m. So therefore you've got to try and get there before 7 p.m. to try and find out how they set up, how they kill one of the guests. It's such a clever mechanic. It's quite simple, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. They're all doing the same loop every single day, and once you've solved the crime, that still happens every day. But then you move on to the next one. But it will give you powers to unlock different rooms or different abilities to be able to see things from a different perspective. And yes, I say I really enjoyed it. I didn't quite follow what was going on at the ending. I think I sort of did a few things out of sync, and I actually rolled the credits, and I was like, oh, I don't actually know what happened. And it was after I did a bit of digging afterwards that sort of it all made sense in terms of what the actual story was. But yeah, I think it was sort of 9-10 hours playthrough, and really really enjoyed it.
Well, that's good. I don't think I finished that. I definitely played it. I mean, a few years ago. I got a review.
Yeah.
I remember getting a review copy for it. I remember playing 2 or 3 hours of it and really liking it at the time. I think there was lots of games I was playing at the time, like in terms of review and stuff like that. So I didn't have a chance to finish it, but I really enjoyed my time with it. But from what I remember and from what you just said, this is a perfect game for Marius. I think this has Marius written all over it. I think Marius would dig this type of game.
I think Marius would enjoy it. Yeah, it's simple puzzles. There's a couple of obscure ones that sort of I did have to use a guide for 1 or 2 little things, because you do end up doing a lot of backtracking, but it's not most of the time. It's not too bad. Obviously, yeah, you're walking around one building, room to room, so it can be a bit slow at times. But the puzzle solving mechanic and finding out who was where at certain times of the day was really really cool. And so yeah, I think Marius, you probably would enjoy it. But yeah, I recommend it. It's definitely a recommended game for anyone that likes the puzzly, pointy, clicky type things.
Fair enough. No, that sounds good. All right, let's move over back to me then. I've been playing a game called Ocean's Heart, and this is the first game on the list here today. That it's a game that has actually been released this year. So this is the first. Actually, no. What am I talking about? The Medium was released this year, though, wasn't it? Completely. It's the second game that's been released this year, not the first. Second, Ocean's Heart. Have you guys heard about Ocean's Heart at all?
No,
but only because I just googled it.
Yeah, I'm doing that
essentially
now.
This is Zelda, A Link to the Past clone. Okay, let's go inspired by. Right. Okay, let me just start by saying I actually think this is a very, very cool game, very charming game, and I can see myself putting a lot more hours into it. And let me just start by saying, is it as good as Zelda A Link to the Past? No. But then again, most things aren't, right?
Yeah, that's a big ask, to be fair.
Exactly. It is pixel art. It's nice, charming pixel art with nice, nice little soundtrack. Like again, retro like soundtrack of that era. It is very Zelda inspired. You do start. You are playing. You do go around and you with your sword, and you get a bow later on. You get a boomerang you can throw and attack enemies. Now, some things I like. Every time you enter a new zone, or a zone, in fact, the enemies are moving around on the world, and then again, like Link of the Past. And if you can attack them, and then obviously they die, and then you can do whatever. And then if you leave that zone, come back, they respawn again. So they're always there. I quite like that because it just gives you something, like makes traversing the world a bit more interesting. What I don't like is that there's never any way to tell how much health any enemy has, especially bosses. You go into a room and there's a boss there. I'm like, oh, and it's like, is this boss going to be something I can deal with now, or is it something I have to come back later when I'm a bit stronger? Yeah, and then you go and fight it, and then you might get like 5, 6, 7, 10 hits, and he doesn't die, and you go like, is he one more hit away from dying? Is or I don't know. I have no idea. Right? And then he hits you and you die, and you're like, do I go and get stronger, or so it's it would be better if it was better, if it was better telegraphed, or what how much energy they have. Same thing goes for, I'll find a new armor, and he goes like, this armor is better than the one you had, so he automatically puts it on. None of this shit of let's go and equip it. So he automatically says, this armor you found is better, your defense is gone +1. Fantastic. What was it before? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't say. There's nowhere. I cannot find anywhere that tells me, or maybe I'm not looking properly, but I looked everywhere. Nowhere to tell me what's my defense. So I know on my gameplay so far, I've gone up 3 times. So I'm +3 of whatever I had. And I know I've gone up on my attack, I think 3 times as well. So I'm +3 on the attack. But again, I have no idea what my attack is doing. So That's what it's missing. It's missing some of that. Maybe like most games have a training dummy where you can just go and hit a training dummy, and then it tells you how much DPS you're doing. So you know, okay, this is how much I'm doing now. And then if you go and upgrade again, you do it again. Oh wow, look at me! I'm doing more damage. So you see, you know, obviously when I go and attack some of those enemies again, I realize that I am doing more damage. But it would be nice, you know, to know that. The other thing that's missing is there's only 4-way directional control when it comes to attacking and movement, rather than 8-way. That makes sense. So you cannot attack an enemy diagonally, but you used to doing that on most games, right? So an enemy is coming at you like, oh, I'm going to attack it diagonally, and then you go sideways or forwards, and then it doesn't, you know, that movement speed is moving from there. But that's some of the negatives, of course. But it's very quirky. It's very funny. The pixel art, like I said, is great. The story is good so far. You know, very, you know, like father goes off to try and find, you know, like these pirates, and then he doesn't come back, and then off you go after him, and all that. I mean, the story's been done before in other games, but it's very charming. It definitely gets a recommendation from me for anyone that likes Zelda type top-down games. Anyone that likes those games will enjoy this. But obviously it's not as good as Zelda. But then again, not many things are. I think that's fair enough, isn't it? You know, I want to play more of it. So there you go. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a good game. And if they done some of the things I said just now, being able to better see what your, this is what Nintendo is so good at doing. You know, like you get a heart and you see the heart going up on your you know, like you can see the visually. I have more health now, or more mana, whatever, anything like that. And also what Zelda as well, Nintendo as well, is like if there's a wall to be broken, it's slightly different, and you can see that can be broken, or if a rock can be moved, you can see maybe the drag you know, like where you can drag it through, because you see the drag marks on the floor, you know, like those things. You know, some of those things are missing on this game. So you can push some rocks, but you don't know, because there's no, you know, the visual aids are not there. And those are the things that take it down a couple of notches to being just a really fun game to play for people, for fans of this type of game. But it doesn't quite put it on top, or where the Zeldas of this world are. And that's the things that are missing. But overall, yeah, I really enjoy it. So that's
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And that's Ocean's Heart. Right. So if I can get my I've lost my notes again. Here they are. Let's move over to Marius. You've been playing A Monsters Expedition.
Yes, I have. This is on Apple Arcade. I'm not sure if it's available elsewhere or not. But I've really been enjoying it. It's a little puzzle game. So the setup is you play a monster, and essentially you're in a museum. It's like a sort of in the future. So you're looking at human artifacts, and so like so it's sort of top down ish, slightly isometric sort of view. And you're just on these basically islands floating in space, or actually floating on water. And like often most of them will have like an exhibition, an exhibit on there. So and it's quite amusing, the things that they say about the monsters have clearly misunderstood a lot of the human artifacts. So some of the comments they make are quite entertaining. So like it talks about even human museums, and like in order to stop people meddling with the exhibits, humans would put up red velvet ropes, which formed an impenetrable barrier, so that nobody could get near them. Like links to, you know, how much humans love queuing, and that's probably the reason that they always talk about the weather, because they were always stood outside in the queue talking about the weather, about umbrellas. That used to annoy the humans by going into their defense mode when it was when it was raining, and there's a few things like that. It's quite entertaining. But ultimately, it is a puzzle game, but it's a really nice, relaxed puzzle game. So as you're going through these islands, it's sort of nice sound effects, a few sort of birds tweeting, just the wind going, basically. So it's really quite relaxing game to play. And the mechanics of it, basically you're pushing trees and pushing logs. So on each island there'll be a couple of trees, and you can push it over. You can flip some of them end to end, or you can roll them. But once they roll, they keep going, and you can't stop them. There's others the bigger trees that you can only push across. And if you push them into the water, if you push one log on top of another, then it will like form a raft. Um, and it's just really nice mechanics. I think the controls are really good. It shows you where that, like, what you place your finger on the log that you want to move, and then take the action to push it in the direction you want, and it shows you with an indicator where it's going to go before you take the action, so you don't have to worry about what's going to happen. You can sort of see it straight away. It also has, which is something I think should be adopted in a hell of a lot of puzzle games, the sort of undo features are really good. It's got a really easy just undo your previous action, or you can reset that one island to its initial state straight away. And it just makes it really easy to play, not too stressful. And it's one of those where most of the puzzles have been fairly straightforward. There's been a couple that I've got stuck on, but it's so big. There's loads of these different islands that I can easily. I've just gone away, done another island, come back to it later, um, and then I've just worked out the puzzle for first time back at it. Um, and yeah, it's just one of those, it's just really easy to play. I can't sit there and play it for hours on end, but like while I'm having my breakfast, I can stick it on the iPad and just be sort of absent-mindedly working out these puzzles as I'm doing other things. Really like it. I highly recommend. It's good.
That sounds good. A couple of things to say on that. I mean, just the game just sounds great. If I ever get Apple Arcade again, I think I'll definitely give it a go. But the queuing, I think that's a British thing as well. British people love queuing
We fucking love a queue.
more than any other country. Because in Portugal we
Oh,
hate queuing.
yeah, this is based very much on England because I think they keep referring to it as England land.
Yeah, I like that. And
what's your thoughts on Apple Arcade? Obviously, since last podcast, has it refreshed enough to you?
No, thoughts are still the same. I'm happy to play it while it's free, but I ain't putting any money into it.
Yeah,
it's good. And like I've played a load of other games, but so many of them I play for 5 minutes and I'm like, yeah, that's done. And there's others that I've played that again I'm playing, but they're just time sink. They're just there. There's nothing really to shout about other than this so far. This is I mean, I've got other things to play, but
people will think we're sponsored by Microsoft. We're not, but we open for sponsorship. If Microsoft wants to sponsor us, no problem. But there's only one good game subscription out there, service, and that's Game Pass. That's the only good one at the moment. And for me, in my opinion, that is.
Well, yeah, for us, yeah, I think Apple Arcade has its place for some people, and like I am enjoying it, but it's not the sort of thing that I'd have month in, month out.
It's cheap, at least. That's one of the good things. It's cheap, and I guess if you have kids and you don't want your kids playing all those games that have all the microtransactions and they have like they're free to play, but then they keep asking you to spend money and being with those predatory tactics on kids. I think if you have kids, this is perfect as well. You can just go like, here we go, there's 100+ games there, just play or spend you like, I don't care. Yeah, go for it. But yes, Game Pass is where it's at, I think. But if they start putting more games where you can play on the Apple TV with the control and everything, this could become more of an option as well. In fact, you can play all of them in the Apple in the Apple TV, but not all of them land themselves to Apple TV. That's what I mean. Right, let's move over to you, Ben, again, because you've been playing Castlevania Requiem.
Yeah, well, specifically Castlevania Symphony of the Night. 23 years late to the party. It's the first time I've played a Castlevania game. And It's really good.
Yeah, the Vania
My
in the
initial
metro of our worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, initially my thoughts were bloody hell, games really were a lot harder this back in the day, because I didn't realise how to save it. And there's you've obviously got your health bar, and you pick up hearts throughout the game, but that doesn't restore your health. So I got to the first boss, and I kept dying, and I'm like, well, clearly I've got to get better at this, and I didn't realise that you can save and refresh your health, because it's a game that doesn't give you any hints on the controls or anything like that. So yeah, it took me a little while to sort of get my head around the mechanics of the game, and obviously saving, gaining health, and progressing through the level. But this is a game that's obviously been the basis of many games over the last 20 or so years. Lots of inspirations taken, and yeah, it does hold up. I mean, it's obviously a 2D side-scrolling Metrovania style game. I'm really enjoying it. I've not played the Rondo of Blood part because it's obviously 2 games in one on this bundle. But yeah, no, it's there's a lot of stuff that's in the game that again you don't know how to do. I think there's like special abilities and actions that are button combo presses, which again the game doesn't tell you how to do. So I'm refraining from doing any googling on this game because I want to sort of experience it like they would have done in 1997 with very limited internet access, and it might have been your one game that you have for for until your Christmas or birthday. So whether or not you like it or
It was
not,
game
sort of
magazines. That's where you had the tips.
game mags. Yeah,
People would
that's
write in
true. And
asking for how to pass this part, and then wait for the next edition
wait
to
for
be
the next
printed
issue
with the
One
answer.
month
months later.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Hope
how it
that
used to
it's
be.
been posted. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't really speak for the lore of Castlevania, but obviously, you're going to hunt Dracula once every couple of hundred years. He reappears in this castle, and I believe there is obviously a massive backstory and lore behind the Castlevania series. And I think some games are connected, some aren't. But as a standalone platform, side-scrolling platforming game, I'm really enjoying it. And it's, as I say, my first Castlevania game, so it does hold up. So 23 years on. Ironically, I think I was playing Final Fantasy 7 at the time when it first came out. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'm guessing you two have played it, and
No, I haven't. I don't know
have you not?
If Marius has, but that's what I was gonna say because I played the other side of the Metroidvania spectrum. I played obviously Super Metroid and Metroid before that. I think it's called Metroid and then Super Metroid, right? Well, I played those two anyway. Super Metroid being the better game by a long shot, actually. Um, and so that's the game I played from that genre. But I love the Metroidvania game. So my question to you is going to be: A, do you like Metroidvania games anyway?
Yes.
You do. Okay, fine. So that's something you like anyway, right? And you're saying it holds up. So is this like a remake, a remaster, or just a real release?
It's a re-release with a PS4 skin. They've not touched any of the graphics. They've updated the controls. So rather than saying press start, it actually says press options. But it is just from what I
It's
can
just
tell,
a re-release of the PS2 game.
PS1. Yeah.
PS1 was it?
Just in. I don't think they've done anything to the graphics or the resolution. It's in a 4:3 box still. When you're loading up your save, it sort of loads up your memory card with your 15
Bruno's
blocks.
immediately like, I'm out. No fucking mega wide. I'm out.
Listen.
But
I like mega wide, by the way, as a term. No, it's not that. I think the Nintendo is actually doing quite well on bringing some of those old games back. I need to have a look if Castlevania is in there actually, because certainly Super Metroid is. What they do really well is they do a re-release, but they put things where you can save scum. You can just save at any point and do other stuff like that. Because it's not so much that the games are hard; is that the games sometimes they don't think about the user. So it's not like, oh, we want to make this really hard, so for the next hour you won't be able to save. I'm like, yeah, fine, but not everyone has an hour to play the whole thing. We're not all kids anymore, you know. So it's not that I cannot do the hour without dying. It's that I don't have the time. So I want to be able to save halfway through it if I need to.
I believe there is quick save in there, but I've been playing it sort of as raw as you like, and as say, there's coffins on a side room, and it doesn't tell you, but you need to press up to save when you're in front of one of these coffins.
Of course you do.
So I just went into this. I went into this room and was like, oh, maybe this is something I come back to later. Carry on. Then I die, and I'm like, I've got to reload my save. Oh, which is the start of the game. So I thought, bloody hell, this is a hard version of Bloodborne. But yeah, it was more user error, and obviously back in the day they didn't have the computing resources to be able to put in the tutorials and all these tooltips and fancy bits because of space limitations on the disc.
You know what blows my mind still, and I know it's all mathematics, is that some of I like Marius already laughing. I haven't even done it yet. Is that back in the day, some of the ways you would save would be you finish the level and they give you a code, and then you put that, but you put that code in, and then you go back to exactly where you were with the health you had, with all the items you had on that. So obviously it's all like if it's this number, add this and that. I know it's all like just a lookup table, but when I was younger, it just blew my mind. Like how is
amazing,
because you put me back exactly where it was, and if the character had a name, you go like, and this is the name you had, so everything was there because all to do with that number. Depending on what you put, it would put everything back again as was, which is to blow my tiny mind, and it still does a bit now because I said it's all mathematics. I know it's mathematics, that's why, but I love it. Cannot say I'm gonna play it. I would like to play it at some point, but Castlevania, it's a game that it's definitely a chink in my armor, but
yeah, it's one of those games that, as I say, it's been around for so long, and people talk about it, and I was like, I'll get round to it. But if you wanted to buy it originally on the PlayStation, it's like 120 quid second hand on eBay. It's one of these rarer.
I'll do that then. I'll do that then. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah, I'll do that then.
Mad. It was like 7 quid over Christmas. So.
I'll do that, and then I'll play it on my PlayStation 3. Sounds like it. Do you think that's a good idea, Marius?
I mean, it's not possible, but it's an idea.
Don't start this. We're time limited today.
I'm gonna say this. Fuck you. Okay. Right. Let's move on. I'm looking at the time. We got a bit of time, but let's move on to make sure we can all finish this on time today. Okay, good. You, Marius. Let's go for you. You've been playing Dead by Daylight.
Yes, I have.
This game before. I'm sure you played this game.
No, this is Marius in multiplayer. Shocker. I know. I've actually played a multiplayer game.
Before you talk about it, the only multiplayer games you like are either 2D brawlers or 1 versus 4 multiplayers. That's the only games that I've ever seen you play online. There's either those two.
Fighting games.
Fighting games, brawlers, and 1 versus 4 multiplayer. That's the only ones you evolve and like. That's the only games you play.
They're the only interesting ones. And this falls into the 1v4 category.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this is available on Game Pass. And it is it's cross play, so I've been playing with some friend who's on Xbox, and this is essentially like a horror film simulator type setup. So it's one killer who is. I mean, there are the standard ones are sort of generic versions of famous movie monsters and such. So like Jason, for example, is an obvious one. But I understand that there are there's DLC available, so you can actually play as Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers, the Demogorgon from Stranger Things and stuff like that. And I think some of the other characters from those movies.
Did you say the Demi Moore from Stranger Things? What did you say?
Yeah, Demi Moore, the Demogorgon, isn't it? Isn't that what it's called?
I don't know. I never heard that name.
It's not Demi Moore.
I never heard that before, so I just wanted to say it again. Demigorg. That's all. That sounds like it's a funny word, That's all. Yeah.
So playing as I think playing as the survivors, there's loads of them. I think there's about 20 different characters you can play as, and within each level there are 4 or 5 generators that essentially you have to get running in order to power up a door switch to let you out of the level. But like working on those generators creates noise that makes it easier for the killer to hear you. It throws up, like they call them, skill checks, I think, which is basically like a QTE. And if you fail that, it makes a shitload of noise and highlights to the killer which generator you were working on, so he knows where you are. And like it works better like if you have 2 people working on the generators. You fix them quicker to encourage sort of working together. And so when the killer gets you, there's a load of meat hooks hanging around the levels, and that once the killer manages to disable you, the idea he takes you to one of these meat hooks and hangs you up there. So that then it's trying to work to rescue the other people from those hooks. And yeah, it's just work. It is a really good 4v1 game. I've only played a few rounds of it so far, mostly as the survivors. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think for me, there's like you can obviously level up your characters and loads of different perks, and for me, it's just a bit too complicated. I mean, I'm not a big multiplayer. Like, I'm not going to put a huge amount. There's just so many perks and things going on. It's like I just can't be bothered. Just let me play the game, man. Just like four or 5 different characters, maybe each with their own thing. But like I don't understand what they all do, and there's just too many. I can't remember them. My mate, he's been playing it like he's gone deep on this game. He's been playing it loads. He's like, oh, you need this one, you need that one. I'm like, I'm just running around fixing generators and like hacking.
Oh, yeah, we've
Oh.
we've lost.
Lost.
We got him back. We got him back. We got him back. Yes.
Hacking people up if I play as the monster. And like he was telling, like he sent me a message the other day to say, oh, you can, this perk's like extra XP for this perk for the next 7 days or whatever. And I'm like, I think you very much overestimate my commitment to this. I just like going jumping in, playing an odd game here and there. It's a lot of fun. I do enjoy it. Maybe you should get in on it, Bruno.
Maybe. No, I'll tell you why. I played the Battlefront 2 was free on Epic a few weeks ago, and I installed that and played a couple of rounds, and it's like, okay, here's these cards. Open the card pack. Okay, now you can upgrade this, and there's like so many characters you can upgrade and put. And I'm like, I hate games like this. I honestly really don't. And these is I play PUBG. That's my online multiplayer, and that one has its own issues. But what I like about it is, yes, you can do all the cosmetic. Like you can get your girl dressed as with the wedding dress and jump in or whatever. Doesn't matter, yeah. But ultimately, you jump in with exactly the same gear as everyone else, which is nothing. And then you jump in, you grab your stuff, you shoot things that move, and you either win or you lose. I like that. I like the how simplistic it is in that terms. I don't like this. Like, as to be fair, more on something like a Call of Duty. You go in and you go like, get shot from behind. What happened? Oh, that guy had the ninja perk, which doesn't show up on your radar. He also had the no footsteps perk and the fuck you, I just killed you from behind perk.
See, this doesn't feel like that. There are a lot of perks there, but in what I've played, nothing felt unfair. And whether that's just because it has good matchmaking or whatever, I don't know. But none of it felt unfair. But I do think it's worth having a go as a Game Pass game.
Having said that, if you have it and you're playing it, it doesn't cost anything to install it and give it a go. So yes, I'll give it a go. We'll get that done at some point for sure. Right. Okay. So that was Dead by Daylight. I'm trying to go back to this thing where I say the name of the game at the end. And by the way, other podcasts, take note. Okay, this is very good. All of you should do it. Okay. You shouldn't be a shitty little podcast, doing it. Yeah. You should all be doing it. Okay, yeah, take note. Okay, that's good. And also the other thing you shouldn't be doing is calling out how good you are after you just done something. Okay, that's not cool. Right?
Yeah, but we're used to you doing that, Bruno.
Last one on the playlist is we'll end with Benn, and that's The Last of Us 2. How far are you into it? Have you finished it?
I won't speak much, but I have played more of it since we last spoke, and obviously you were giving me shit for calling him the game of my year or game of the year.
Correctly so, yeah.
So all I want to say is I have played more of it, and
it's
I
now
still
no longer
stand
my
by
game of
that.
the year. Oh, okay.
No, I still stand by it. The trouble is with it is it's not a particularly deep and heavy game per se, but I need to be in the right mood to play it. I need to be able to say, right, I'm going to sit for 2 or 3 hours and get involved in it. I don't like the combat in it. I've never liked the combat in the Naughty Dog games, really. And it's the sort of game that every time I come back to it, it's like, what button does what? How do I get around it? And obviously there's the crafting side of things as well. And I'm like, and it's just very minor little niggles. But other than that, the story I'm really, really enjoying. And it is better than my Ghost of Tsushima impressions through to the end. So yeah, the only update is that I'm still playing it. I'm still enjoying it. And it's been in smaller chunks, which is the same way I played The Last of Us originally. Because it's so I've discovered that my key way of playing is pick up and play games. Like Marius was just saying, I don't care for all these mechanics and systems. I just want to be able to say, right, I want to go shoot stuff, or I want to go and do stuff. So The Last of Us has kind of been like that, but yeah, I'm about 13 hours into it now, and it's still my game of the year for last year.
I would love to be able to like make video games. Obviously, I cannot draw or program, so I'll have to be like the director or something like that. But one thing I would do in a game, which I don't know why people don't do it more often. Maybe it's a technicality issue. But again, it's all mathematics. If they could do it back in the SNES days, you could probably do it now. Which is very simple. If the game sees that you haven't played so the last save game was 15 days or 30 days, whatever the key is, it goes like, you've been gone for a while, just a reminder, this is the button control, like just do you want a reminder or not? You can just say no or yes, that'll be good. And if it's like 6 months, since you've been gone, just let me give you a quick recap of the story so far. 6 months, poof, that's the story, done. I don't know why people don't do that. It's
great idea. Patent that shit.
Yeah, I should that because yeah, just do that. It's not hard. It's not hard. I mean,
it would be useful.
Yeah. So just look at the game save, and and then.
But then on the flip side of it, when I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, 30 hours in, it was still telling me to move across a rock. You need to move the left stick in the direction of
no, that's what I'm saying. That you don't have to do it.
But there is a balance of you've got to please as many people as you can. But no, I do like the idea of a story so far recap. That would be really, really cool.
Absolutely, it's not that hard as well. You only have to use one factor as the trigger. That's already built in, and you can have a up to here. This is the story so far, anyway, and then trigger is X amount of time since last time, and it's not.
I think
it's not rocket science, guys.
Was quite good with that when on the loading screens. I think it sort of gave you a sort of a story recap of how far through you got.
Yeah, and the Metro did that, but they did that every time you finished a chapter. It'll tell you where you were. So Metro did that quite well as well. That was an easier one, I guess, because it's literally a linear gameplay.
Yeah.
But yes, okay. That's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and the only reason to give you some shit about it is because you put it as your game of the year when you had only played like 2 or 3 hours, I think, from memory. That's why we gave you shit about it, because
I know
it was Marius's game of the year. I think it was my second from memory now, anyway. And we're not saying he didn't deserve to be there. That's not what we were saying at all. What we were saying is he could have failed. It could have been like after 10 hours, it just becomes the worst game ever. Like it could have been that. So it's in good hands, obviously, and it obviously didn't fail. But so I'm saying it's you know, I think it's okay to maybe play 60-70% of a game and go like, I'm done and I get what the game is. But when you play only 10%, sometimes you don't see the
Which
rest.
is why I caveated it with this is very heavily caveated.
All
I've only
right,
played
all
a
right.
little bit, but from
Come
what
on,
I've played, and
let's
it's
move.
continued.
Let's
Anyway,
move on.
I'm only commenting on he's the one that called he brought it up by saying you guys called me out on it. I'm just defending why we called you out on it. That's all. We were not saying it was a bad idea anyway. Right, let's why don't we move to the why don't you section of the podcast, which is the part of the show where we give you a recommendation of something to do, see, experience, eat, whatever, for you to try. I'll start with an audiobook by R.R. Haywood, which is L4 Drop, which is the second book in the Code trilogy. First one was the World Ship Humility. Marius, I know Marius has read it, and
Right, I've loved it.
and he loved it. First of all, Colin Morgan, I think, is the name of the narrator. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I think that's his name. He's great. He's truly great. We all have our favorites. Me and Marius. I think both myself and Marius think Ray Porter is king, and then there's everyone else. That's not changed, but I think he's closer to him now than some of the other ones out there. He's great. All his voices are fantastic, and he does so many different ones. And not just that. Sometimes, especially on this book, when he doesn't say X person is speaking, the person just speaking, and you know exactly who's speaking. You know exactly without having to wait for the end. Said person said. You know exactly who's the person speaking because his voices are so distinctive. It's a sequel on this Code trilogy, and what I'll say so far is it's so much funnier than the other one, and the other one was already funny. I've literally laughed out loud so many times already with this one. It's I'm 9 hours in. 18 hours. So I'm halfway through it, and I'm doing my thing of I'm doing the band thing of recommending something. I'm recommending it based on an hour and 9 hours I have listened to because I've been doing a bit more traveling again recently, so I had a chance to listen to more audiobooks. It's really funny, even though it's that thing. It's a good thing I listen to audiobooks on my own because it's also certainly on the first hour or two it died down a bit. Thankfully, after that. A bit sexual, a bit too sexual. You know, like you're driving, you're like, can anyone else hear this? Let me lower the volume a bit because this is getting a bit steamy. And I don't remember the first one being that sexual at all. So I'm like, when did this become 50 Shades of Grey? Like in certain parts. So a bit more sexual, but then don't worry, it's only at the beginning, and then it drops out, thankfully. Because that's not the type of book I like reading. But it's certainly a lot funnier. And really great so far. Really great so far. Really enjoying it. Marius, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I'll be back in as soon as I'm traveling again.
Yeah. That's it. The L4, and that's the L4 Drop, which is the second book in the Code trilogy. And yeah, again, Colin Morgan, I hope I'm saying his name right, is fantastic at this. And because I remember we talked about this before. Marius and I, when we first listened to the first one, we both said straight away, "Nope, not gonna like this book with an Irish Northern Irish accent on it. This is gonna be terrible." And then both of us, after like half an hour, changed our mind completely and said, "Nope."
He's excellent.
This is excellent. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. It's great. Right, Ben, have you got something for us?
I do, for a change. I watched the whole series. It's Lovesick on Netflix. It's about a guy that gets chlamydia and has to call all of his ex-girlfriends to tell them. And it basically
sounds amazing.
Follows
That's
his
a great setup.
Oh, it's even better. The original series was called. It was on Channel 4 or E4, and it was called Scrotal Recall. But then Netflix picked it up and did season 2 and 3 and rebranded it Lovesick. But it's really cool. It's like 25-minute episodes, and it follows this guy and his sort of uni mates. And each episode sort of a callback to the relationship. It tells it out of time, so it might have been 3 months ago, it might have been 5 years ago. So there's a bit of time jumping around, and you have to sort of pay a little bit of attention to sort of work out the overall story. But ultimately, it's a comedy love story kinda. But there's some really good moments in it. It's quite funny. The actors all get on really well with each other. You can tell that there's, I suppose, chemistry between them. And it's a really good, easy watch. And as I say, for me to watch one series or something is impressive, but to watch all three in a week or so was it had some sticking power for me. But I do recommend it, and that's my why don't you for a change.
All right. I mean, I've been recently watching because I like to have something on the background, that I've seen before that I can just I could be cleaning the house, I could be doing anything, and it's just in the background, and I don't really have to pay that much attention. I've been watching The Office, the American Office. I've seen it before many times. I love it. I think it's a great show. But there's a part where Michael Scott he gets herpes on his lip. It turns out to be an ingrown hair in the end. But anyway, he goes like, "Oh shit!" and he starts calling all his ex lovers, saying, "Did you give me herpes?" Which is very funny. So that's funny, that part. So maybe this sounds, if it's anything like that, it sounds like it could be quite fun as well.
It is cool. You probably would have to not necessarily have it on in the background. You sort of need to pay attention because it does jump around, and he obviously revisits some of his friends and girlfriends, and they sort of, some of them play an integral part of the main storyline. But it's definitely worth a watch. And as I say, some of the humor in it is really, really good.
That sounds.
It tackles some slightly difficult questions as well. So there is. It's definitely worth a watch.
That sounds good. Right. Let's move over then to you, Marius. Have you got anything?
Yeah, I have. I've got a few I could go with, but today I'm going to go with cancel your fucking subscriptions.
Yeah.
All of them?
Not necessarily all of them, or at the very least, fucking manage them properly. So, whilst I was unemployed for a period last year, I obviously went through and cancelled everything. The only thing that I didn't cancel was Netflix, because that's used very regularly. And my storage on my iPhone iCloud storage, which, because that's 79p. so, so it doesn't really matter. But it's incredible, the amount of, there's so many subscription services, and regardless how good they are, even Game Pass, I recognise I hadn't been using it for several months just because I was playing other games, or there were other things that I was doing instead. Obviously, like audiobooks, I wasn't listening to, and there are a few other things that I cancelled. You're throwing your goddamn money away, especially now. Most of them you can cancel at any time. In most instances, you're often not locked into a 12-month subscription, although there obviously are those sort of things. But just be really careful. Don't give these big companies your money for stuff that you're not using. They're laughing at you. And it's incredible things that, it's surprising how there were certain things, I thought I was using a lot, but I actually wasn't. Like PlayStation Plus is a prime example. Felt like I was using it, but really I'm not using it at all and haven't missed it in the slightest. It will only be when specific sort of other games come back on the service that I'm interested in. Well, that'll all be well and good until my hard drive fucks it and I've got no cloud save. But um, other than that, I'm not using it. So, and for me, it was quite a surprise how many of the subscription services that I had that you don't really think about because it just disappears out your bank every month. And B, how little I was using some of them. So a lot of them I'll probably never go back, and that's exactly what the companies want you to obviously do, is just pay that money every month if you're using it or not. So yeah, I think reassess your subscriptions and usage. And look, I would suggest try cancelling stuff. Just cancel some of them and see if you actually miss it or not. And I think you'll be surprised at what you find.
Quite often they'll send you an email a few weeks later to say, "You sure you don't want to come back?"
Yeah, I think that's a great point you're making there, and I would say you're absolutely correct. You should definitely always evaluate how much you're using something and if you actually need it. And a lot of these subscriptions, you can either cancel them or pause them as well. And I have done so. There's a few perma stays, and that's all to do with the amount of usage it has. Like exactly like you said, yeah. So my Netflix, I use it all the time. My Prime subscription, I use all the time because free. I order stuff from Amazon, free delivery, and I actually use their Amazon Prime video service quite a lot. So those ones obviously permanent stays. Something like Disney Plus, for instance, I come and go. And what I recommend as well is not. Sometimes you can build up stuff, right? So for instance, I stopped Disney Plus for like three or 4 months. Waited for the Mandalorian to come back in again, and then put it on for a month, and then watch that. And then you can pick a mix. You can just put them on for a bit, take them off again.
That's how I'm using Game Pass now. It's a month at a time, and sort of see. Or well, I've got 3 months for £1, so I'm in for at least 3 months.
Nice.
Remember to cancel it.
And then I'll just cancel it if there's nothing else. Depending on what's going on Game Pass at the time.
I would say, and some apps are better this than others. Some of your banking apps as well tell you can put like you can put things into this payment is a subscription payment, so you can put that into pots, into filters, and then you can filter, and you can actually see more. Oh shit, because hey, things add up. £5 here, £6 there. You're looking at £50 a month sometimes plus, right? It adds up. So yes, absolutely, you should reevaluate if you're using it as much. Like with Audible, I've started using it again more. But there was a point when I wasn't using it, and I just paused it for 6 months. I literally with them it's a bit difficult because with them you cannot cancel, or you can cancel, but if you cancel, you lose your credits that you have.
Yes.
So you keep your books, but you lose your credits. So what you can do is you can spend your credits and then cancel. That's fine. But you can also pause it. They're quite good at letting you pause. I think you can pause twice a year, up to 6 months maximum per time or something. So essentially you can pause for a year, something like that. Anyway, so you can go ahead and pause, which is exactly what I did when we were in proper lockdown and I wasn't listening to books. But then, Ready Player 2 came out, and the 4th book of the Bobby Bears, which is, by the way, that was fantastic. That one was, I know I recommended before, that was really good, that one. So books that I wanted to read start coming out again, and obviously, I did. So I already do what you said to a certain extent, but absolutely, I think that's great advice there from you, Mary. So people,
you're welcome.
Should do it. Right. Okay. Before we go, let's look at the chat here. What's with the bum job center beard, Bruno? Wow, that's that's harsh coming from Matt. Matt can only be described. His look can only be described as a dog's asshole. Like when you look at the dog's asshole, that's pretty much Matt's face. So there you go. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Guy in the voter seat, I feel your pain having to listen to Bruno. Wow.
Yeah. No, I agree. Thanks, Matt. Every 2 weeks, we just
Actually, I don't. Yeah, well, doesn't matter. It's so fun. It's nice to see you anyway, Matt. Nice to see you here. Yes, we do stream this podcast every week. Normally on the Monkey Tail Twitch, but we had some issues today, and we were time constrained, so we went for it on mine. But yes, if you're not following Monkey Tail UK on Twitch, go ahead and follow. If you're not subscribed to our podcast, you can subscribe on your platform of choice.
That's a subscription you should keep going
because it's free.
Because it's free.
It's free, and it's the single most thing you can do to the single most thing you can do to help us out is to go and subscribe to us on your platform of choice. iTunes.
I would describe this as a compulsory thing to do. If you're listening to us right now, it's compulsory. Go and do it.
If you should absolutely, you should go and do it. And also, if you listen to it now, we're an hour and 20 minutes in, whatever. You listen this far, so go and subscribe. Go on iTunes. Go on Apple, on Google Music. Go on Spotify, whatever, doesn't matter. We're everywhere. Yeah, we're even on on things you wouldn't think of. We're on like some radio things on the internet. We're everywhere. We're in so many places I don't even know where we are. That's how many places we're in. Okay, we're on Stitcher. We're on oh great, smoke just redeem. I can only use my pistol. Great. I'm not playing a game, you asshole. I'm not refunding you that. You don't deserve to be refunded for that one. Right. Anyway, we'll finish podcast there. But yes, the best thing you can do to help us out is go and subscribe to us on your platform of choice. And the second best thing you can do for us is tell a friend. If you like the podcast, tell a friend, because if they like the same things you do, likely they'll like our podcast as well. Or if you hate our podcast, they'll probably hate it as well. But that's fine. Just tell them anyway to come and listen to us. That's okay with us. And we promise, if we get enough subscriptions by the next podcast, we'll put a comb through Benn's hair and just get.
I'll have a hair.
We'll get that. We'll get that in shape. Oh wow, jeez,
it's big. I know.
What is that, man? To be fair, mine is worse than that. I have a hat. You should see. Mine is crazy at the moment. If I touch anything electrical, it just goes high as well, like yours. Crazy. Right. Anyway, we're rambling now, as always. I want to thank everyone to jumped into on chat there. Go and subscribe. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'll be back myself on Sunday with Wreckfest. So I'll see you guys then. And yeah, I've been Bruno Pinto.
I've been Ben.
I've been impressed. We've kept this in line and actually managed to finish at roughly 1 o'clock as requested. Yeah, well done.
Of course. That goes without saying. All right, bye everyone.
Bye
guys. Bye.